What's up, guys? The Callisto protocol has been out for a few days now at the time of making this video, and I've got quite a few hours into it, about 6 hours or so, and performance since the day one patch is definitely a little bit better, and I want to go over some of the recommended settings I'm kind of using here for the RTX 3060. So DirectX 12, 120 FPS is my cap. We're not going to be hitting that often, which is fine. And basically medium and everything else, standard on my lighting quality here. Motion blur, depth of field turned off. Anti-aliasing's FXAA here. You can go off as well. You have temporal for FSR, and we'll get into that, but we don't have that on right now as we get into it. So right now this is just a mix of custom medium settings with RTX off and FSR off, and this is just the very beginning of the game. Performance does vary depending on where you're at in the game, and I will show a couple of other areas and we'll talk about that. But just starting off into the game gives us a decent little spot to show some differences from this to when I turn RTX on or FSR on, which does make a difference here. But the beginning of the game, obviously, it is much easier to run than some other areas, and that's very typical these days with games when they come out. Now here's the same settings, but with RTX on medium and FSR off as well right here. And this would be tough. When you get later into the game, there are areas that can be tougher to run. So yeah, you could probably push yourself maybe a 30 FPS experience here, but it would be a bit rough, especially with the frame times. And so this is why I'm kind of staying away from RTX. And unfortunately, we don't have DLSS in this game right now. We have FSR, which is okay, and it does a decent job in this scene again here as we play through the same spot with those settings, but FSR unbalanced. But there are other areas in the game where it doesn't really make as much of a difference, and depending on what monitor you're playing on and that type of thing, the upscale quality of FSR can be a little bit hit or miss. And for me, I'd rather just go without ray tracing in the game and go with my original custom medium settings. And now here's all three here being played with our custom medium, no RTX and FSR off, and so on here from left over to right. And of course, our best experience is going to be RT off and FSR off, or we could go with some FSR and have RTX on if you're really wanting to get to 30 to 60 FPS experience, 30 to 55, really depending on where you're at in the game. But if we bounce back over to my settings that I've been using a lot to play the game here, custom medium that I showed you in the beginning of the video, RTX off, FSR off. Even though performance will vary anywhere from about 48 FPS all the way up to 128 FPS in the game, depending on where you are with these settings, which is why I don't necessarily want to raise them unless I turn on FSR. This is kind of where I'm sticking at. This is kind of working for me. It looks nice on the system. It's playing decently. And since the day one patch, and I'm talking about the later in the day, like almost end of day, it was nighttime here for me, when they pushed out a patch to help the shader caching in the beginning at the menu, that definitely made a difference with some of the areas that were stuttering and having problems. It didn't fix everything, but it certainly did help. With these same settings and cutscenes, though, you could see some dips in performance again into the 40s and then back up, but it's not going to affect gameplay, but it's something I did want to show. Now here's another scene much later in the game with those similar settings set up like we did in the beginning, and in this spot, especially in this cutscene area, FSR didn't really do much to help us out, which does happen from time to time. And again, I would still just prefer my custom medium settings with no FSR. Same thing right here, kind of moving around in this same area. For whatever reason, it was as if FSR didn't want to kick in. I did restart the game, tried all kinds of things, but in this particular area, it just didn't want to really help our performance with ray tracing here. I really wish the game would add in DLSS so that we could mess with that. But because of all those reasons, not having DLSS and the performance of RT, for me personally, because I don't want to play a 30 FPS game here, I'm not going to use ray tracing currently until we see some improvements later on with performance. They do say there are more patching and performance issues to be fixed. I'm hoping they will add DLSS and that RT performance can get a bit better. But again, for me, the settings I showed you in the beginning of the video, the custom medium with RT off and FSR off, for me, this is a really sharp, clean image that I'm just having a good time here with the PC, and it's running well. And do with these settings what you want. I'm hoping the point of this video is just to give you a general idea of what performance I'm getting with these settings, and you can decide if you want to dial them up or down, or go ahead and go for RT and FSR or whatever you want to do there. But anyways, I'm really enjoying the Callisto protocol myself. I know there's some mixed reviews out there, but for me, I'm not a big horror genre fan, but I'm actually really enjoying going through this game. Alright guys, thanks a lot for coming and check out the video as always, and I'll see you in the next one.